Before we begin, thank you very much to Noah for joining the Patreon campaign over at patreon.com/TJOmega. I feel like I've thanked Noah last month, and I don't know if you're returning or if you or if you're a different Noah. Either way, thank you for joining up. And thank you all who are on the Patreon. You are the reason I'm doing this daily. You're the reason I can continue. And honestly, like, I want to continue doing this. It means a lot to me that you want me to keep doing this because I will do it for as long as I'm capable. And thanks to you guys, I'm still capable. So I appreciate it greatly. Now, I've been doing these tier list videos for a while, and I realize I have been doing a disservice because I have been naming them ranking videos, which is technically not correct. Ranking is basically a top 10 video that goes on forever. And there are some situations where a ranking video is more appropriate than a top 10. Things that don't have 10 examples, for instance, like Transformer movies, or in an instance of such as just something that I feel like I want to talk a little bit about everything, and I feel like I can grade it from like 25th position all the way to first. So there are times where I kind of want to do that instead of a top 10. So you know what? Let's just change this up. This is just a tier list video. And this video in particular is about the original 3 years worth of Decepticon toys. So fortunately, I've had experience with just about every toy on this list, and hopefully I can remember all of their names. This is going to be as much a test of my memory as it is my opinion on vintage G1 toys. So join me in judging, 38-year-old toys. And we're going to start with a Constructicon. It's Scavenger. Scavenger is a pretty decent place to start. It's a very simple figure, as a lot of combiner figures were back then. Nothing really to it, but it's a nice average figure for a lower price point. Nothing really crazy, nothing really weird. I think he makes a good middle ground right now. So we don't really have anyone who's outwardly bad as a toy just yet. As I'm looking through this list, I'm trying to already in my head and go who here what I call legitimately bad. And we'll get to that. But for now, I think a lot of combiners are going to end up right in the middle, unless they're doing something decently wrong. So right now, Scavenger goes middle ground. Soundwave, is there any guess? Is there any doubt here? Of course, he goes Holy Grail. The functionality, the character, the level of articulation for a first year G1 toy, especially you don't top Soundwave. The playability alone makes him so cool. All right, so you'll see it. There's a lot of these I don't have to talk about. Gnaw. I had someone send me a Gnaw as a plastic addict victim going, this plastic Madball I know is bad enough to be a plastic addict toy. And honestly, you know what? I don't think it is. I really don't. In fact, out of the 86 bots, I think it's one of the best at capturing the appearance of the character on screen. It's big, it's dumpy. The Sharktacon mode looks great. It looks straight up like it does in the show, in the movie. It's the robot mode is this big dumpy thing, and in the cartoon they were big dumpy things. As far as playability, okay, fine. It's pretty limited for what it is, but all G1 toys were. But for accuracy, man, it's hard to top it for the movie cast. I would wager to guess Null might be the most accurate movie toy of them all. So boom, there he goes. I like that. I like that Mad Ball. I gotta get a tail for mine though. A tail and one of the wrist tabs broke off, so he has that problem going for him. Venom into the Deluxe Insecticons. Now, admittedly, I don't have too much experience with the Deluxe Insecticons, but enough to really kind of feel him out. And I actually really like Venom. I like, he has this everything collapsing inward kind of thing to his transformation, especially the way the legs fold up. Reminds me of a lot of modern Transformers and how they function. I don't own a Venom, but it's one that I would like to get. And out of the Insecticons, I actually really, really like his function. Also, it's going to come up it's something that's going to be very important in the Deluxe Insecticons. His shoulders work. We'll keep that in mind. All right, Vortex. As a combiner toy, he's a funky little figure. Just like a lot of helicopter toys that didn't really know how to use the blades, so it just kind of hung off his back awkwardly. He's got a few awkward slides too, so it's hard to remember like the order you have to transform him in, and uh, where things are supposed to be rotated to be accurate between like a waist slide and how his backpack rotates. So it's a little bit of stuff to remember. But like I said, most of those combiners are just going to be like your average level transformer. So nothing, none of them are that surprising. Galvatron. All right, so this is where it's going to be important. We're not really counting accuracy of the toy. We're just trying to judge the toy for itself. I know I put premium because accuracy, but shut up. What I mean is, we're not going to hold it against the toy if it's inaccurate because the toys are based off of preliminary designs that didn't make the final cut. So originally, Galvatron was supposed to look far more like Megatron with a lot more gray. Changed it up to make him as different as possible instead. The toy itself is fine. We've always struggled getting a good Galvatron. So it is a little bit, it's a temperamental bit of toy. Because it turns into a cannon, but it's an extremely simple transformation to get there, and it's really not as engaging as some of these toys are. It does have a gun mode, it does have a blaster mode, and it's electronic, which was rare back then. So I can't put him that high, just because he's a big solid toy, but there's a lot of weirdness to him. And a lot that I think is for his size is just too simple. I feel like there could have been a little bit more. Even back then, I feel like it could have done a little bit more. So for now, he's going to be top retail release. Might bump him up a little bit here. Onslaught. So there's a trick to Onslaught that I actually really like. It's like just how ridiculously long his vehicle mode is, and then scrunching up into his robot mode, I think is actually kind of neat. I'm not sure if I would put him super high on the list because he is rather, he is a. I'm debating it now because he functions pretty well. Out of the combiner torsos, he probably has the least suffering going on. He actually handles it really well. You know what? I'm gonna bump you up. For what you are. It's important to remember. It's for what they are. For the price and size of Galvatron, I feel like he should be a little bit more. For the price and size of Onslaught, I think he's actually excelling compared to his contemporaries. All right, Shrapnel. I did have experience with the Insecticon. Shrapnel is not my favorite Insecticon, really. No. It's he's a little bit. All the normal Insecticons are pretty basic. So I'm not sure here. I'm gonna put a mid tier for now. We'll put a mid just for now. All right. Oh, here we go. Our first Seeker, Thrust. So shape-wise, design-wise, I think Thrust is probably my favorite of all of the Seekers. I like the VTOL wings. I think that gives them a much cooler appearance than your standard ones. And yeah, the dark crimson and black color scheme is super, super cool. I want to put him up premium. I do like the Seeker, despite having a lot of part forming. It's just kind of a thing that was necessary back in 1984, and thus in 1985 for the Coneheads. We'll go with it. Run Amok. Now we're kind of getting into it. So the Battle Chargers were all about you pull them back, release them, and they will spring, they will stand up to transform while they're going. So it is a gimmick toy. It's a one-trick gimmick. What you got afterwards was a figure with no articulation whatsoever, a gun that had to rest on his shoulder or out the side of his hand to point forward. So it's really a one-trick pony. And it's a trick that, because it relies on springs and pull motors, etc., can wear down. So it's not really going to be high on my list. I think this is where we start getting into what I would legitimately call just bad for G1. I'm looking through the list here and I'm like, what would end up in flea market level? I might have to rearrange a little bit afterwards. All right, Swindle. Little bit dumpy for what he is, but as a Jeep, that's pretty much what I would, I guess I can't do a whole lot. Um, I I've put a lot of credit on Swindle lately, but his original G1 toy is not great. Even for a combiner character, I do think it's lacking. It just doesn't look as good as the others. All right, Astro Train. Probably the triple changer from G1 that cleared everything the most without any real sacrifice. The train mode looks good, the shuttle mode looks good. Even modern Astro Trains struggle to make both vehicle modes look good. And then the only real downside to the robot mode are those tiny arms. And if you look at the original prototype, that was actually not part of the original plan. So Astro Train's actually like super solid. I would put him all the way up at the top. I really, really like the toy. Rumble. We're judging the toys. The red and black one was the toy Rumble. You can't fault me for this. Rumble's decent. Rumble's fine. Little bit of articulation for what he is. I don't find him as like neat or impressive as the animals. Something about the animals coming out of those cassettes is far more like interesting and cool to me than the robot designs coming out. So we can put him like again for what he is. I think he's impressive. The engineering is really cool. So we're gonna put him up higher on retail. And I guess I have to put Frenzy in the same spot, but I like the black and red better. Oh, hey, gee, I wonder why. Brawl. So Brawl is also like another simple combiner, but not terribly simple. Like he's got a little bit more going on than the others. Can definitely put him over Vortex, but I'm not sure he's quite as good as Scavenger. Scavenger's got a nice tricky thing to him. Headstrong. All right, so now we're getting into the downsides here. Headstrong is okay. He's a brick. He's like what you think of when you think G1 brick. With these really scrawny arms, I don't think is suit his robot mode, and because of his diecast, very back heavy. He's a very unstable toy, as well as being a very low function toy. So he starts going down. So he hits the bargain bin. So this is where we start to like pare down like a lot of these earlier combiner characters. Motormaster, on the other hand, I've always really liked. Now, it's a big dumpy design. Like, admittedly, like for his robot mode, he's not using his bulk that great, but I really like the design of the character. I like the idea of like the semi-trailer and the truck itself combine, transforming together. I don't think he pulls it off as well as Onslaught, but I'm willing to put him up higher. I'm willing to put him up high end of retail release, right about there. I like that. Reflector. Reflector is tricky. So he's one of those toys that relies on not only do you have to have all three robots to really make him transform, but you also need all of his accessories to make him look right. I've got G1 Reflector, but I don't actually have all of his parts, so he doesn't actually look like a camera when you combine him. Kind of a big downside for me. Um, the toy itself is okay. It's okay. If you have the whole thing, it's a neat little package and it's a unique function. That's an important part, that it is unique. So for uniqueness, I'll put it retail, but I do think the toy has just a few too many flaws to it. Too many drawbacks, let's put it that way. Barrage. This is getting more into the simple ones again. So Barrage himself, okay. It's an okay figure. So nothing like tremendously exciting for me. I'll put him like smack dab in the middle. Smack dab in the middle. Man, I'm looking back at the list and going like, who ends up bargain bin? Who ends up flea market? Because you have to remember, I'm trying to look at this through the nostalgia, and I'm trying to look through with like how it would be back then, and like trying to grade the toys out for that. And like I'm trying to figure out like comparatively for like 1986, which of these toys would be like really bad. Scourge, I don't think is that great either. I would bargain bin him. He's the earliest example of a robot that mostly tucks into a shell in order to transform. So he's not terribly interesting. You like the character, so I like the toy well enough, but I can admit the toy is not great. Bombshell. I do like Bombshell a little bit better than Shrapnel. I can put him higher up. Well, I put him right about there. I'm trying to speed it up now because I know I've already been recording for a while. I'm already explaining way more than I thought I would. I'm trying to trying to get through this a little bit quicker. Let's see. All right. So where do we put Razor Claw? Uh, for those figures, he's one of the better ones. Him and Rampage are actually really good because they actually have a decent level of articulation, and top of just the beast modes are like really fierce. So I put him up pretty high. I put him up pretty high. Actually, quite no. We're gonna move him up. No. We're gonna move. We're gonna leave him there. I'm gonna try to leave him there. All right, Ransack. Um, Ransack, not great. He comes across just about as simple as Kickback does. He does things a little bit differently, but overall, they're roughly the same toy style-wise. The problem here is that his arm articulation is non-existent, which means his weapon and his shield that he's included with are functionally useless, on top of the fact that it's just not that interesting as a Transformer. He and him, I would put down to the flea market level. There we go. We got one down on the bottom. I don't like that figure. All right. So, man, I should have grabbed water before this. I did grab water before this. All right. So, God, Scrapper. Where does Scrapper go? Again, pretty basic, pretty mid. He's not terribly interesting. I don't really have to talk about him. We're got another battle charger here, so Runabout goes right along with his brother. Chop Shop. Chop Shop has some distinction to him. He's one of the first Transformers to use ball joints. All of his little insect legs are ball joints. That did make him prone to becoming very loose, by the way. He's okay. He's okay. Again, very little arm functionality, but overall, like, he looks and feels better than Ransack did. So I'm not going to put him terribly high. I'm going to put him bottom of the retail release. Just because, like, he's lacking that function. But he makes up for it in just how neat the toy looks. Shockwave. Now, we're going to put aside the fact that this toy is impossible to keep in good condition because of the rubber hose. You know, we're here to judge function. Again, it's a rare electronic piece for back then. It's the laser gun, which I think is, sometimes, is cooler than the, the actual, like, Megatron pistol. And yeah, it's, I think I like it better, like, transformation-wise than Megatron 2. He part forms, but he also doesn't have anything ridiculous that makes him, like, weird in proportion. I gotta put him high. I gotta put him up high. I don't know. He looks super cool. He has the electronic functions. He's a really good blaster weapon. It's a little part for me. But it's G1. I already put thrust that high, so I guess I have to put him up. I think he deserves that. Mixmaster. Again, pretty basic, pretty simple. Don't really have to question him too much. Though I do like him. I do like him a little bit better. All right. Buzzsaw. See, now we're getting into those cassettes that have a little bit neater function to them because they're the animal rather than the simple robots. And of course, it's the first one most got because it came with Soundwave. So I'm gonna put him above. Now, because it's just a cassette figure, I can't put him too high. But for what he is and for what he does, yeah, we'll move him up above the robots. Bone Crusher, again, now Bone Crusher does have something of an involved transformation for the time. So I can put him a little bit higher than the other Constructicons because he does have a little bit more of an interesting theme to him. And I think, like, that little flap he has behind his head is about the only kibble he's got compared to either, like, the digger arm hanging off the back or an entire, like, mixing barrel. So that works too. Blitzwing, my boy. So back then, it wasn't such a stretch when the jet had a big tank turret hanging off the bottom, because a lot of this takes imagination to play with back then. So I can't put him as high as Astro Train. I wish I could, but he does have his flaws. He has no feet in robot mode for starters. He has tail fins pretending to be feet. And of course, his jet mode didn't come out great. But functionality wise and play wise, yeah, I think he's one of the more fun triple changers. I will put him in premium price, but I will acknowledge his flaws, and I will not put my boy too high on the list. Rat Bat, all right, all right. So Rat Bat's where we start getting fun. I love the transformation to Rat Bat, just like unfurling from the cassette mode. He is a little bit problematic because those ears are so easy to lose. But you know what? I'm gonna rank him pretty high because I think he's one of the cooler cassettes. So I let him go up there. The gold weapons help too. That was actually special. Kickback. All right, so admittedly, Kickback, a very simple Insecticon. Now, design-wise, I like Kickback the best. I like the big shoulder blades. I like the pincher hands that he forms. And there's something neat about that, like that split arm thing that he does for his transformation. Like that's really the only trick he has. But I do like him, but I will acknowledge, toy-wise, he's probably not as good as Bombshell, so I will give him a little bit of credit. I'll put him up there where I like him, but I will admit, yeah, he's not the best of the Insecticons. Blast Off. I think Blast Off's most notable thing about his toy is the fact that he's where we compare everybody's scale. The space shuttle is smaller than the military truck. Again, just kind of a mid-level, nothing terribly interesting. Doesn't do anything wrong either, though. So, I can put him right in the middle. Octane. All right, so of the triple changers, not the best. His jet, both of his vehicle modes come off a little bit weird, and his robot definitely doesn't look as appealing as the others. So, I definitely can't put him as high. Like, function-wise, the triple changers are great, but I don't want to put him as high as, Blitzwing or certainly not Astro Train. I can drop him in top of retail because he is still got a lot going on. Triple changers often do. All right, so we're getting into more Seekers here. Dirge, probably my least favorite of the Seekers. Because I'm not a big fan of his wing shape. The brown, the blue doesn't work for me, and he's just another blue Seeker, so he just comes across as a less cohesive Thundercracker. I still like the toy, so I'm not gonna put. I still like the toy, but he's definitely not premium price like Thrust is. So we're gonna put him somewhere around there retail level. Starscream, again, I like the toy, but I do like the toy. So I'll put him top of premium. I like Starscream. The colors work, of course. And he does stand out from the Seekers because he gets to have the most color going on, where everyone just else kind of had like a solid color scheme. Especially amongst that first year. We get to branch out a little bit later on, but I kind of like how Starscream stands out from the pack. Let's see, Drag Strip. Going with the going with the prototype car with the 6-wheel design, that's a different take. That separates him from Mirage nicely, and I like that. Again, transformation-wise, simple, just like all of the combiners, but I can put him a little bit higher because the vehicle mode is unique and cool. Dive Bomb. So, he's supposed to be a bird, but he's super bulky because he has to be a combiner. Now, toy-wise, he's okay. He's fine, toy-wise, outside of just he's the fattest bird you're ever going to see. I'm not going to put him terribly high as a result. But he's decent enough. He's decent enough as an individual toy. Wild Rider. Now, again, simple, but I really like Wild Rider. I think he has a really cool look to him. The gunmetal and red is a little bit different than the typical black and red we see. I like it. He's one of my favorite of the Stunticons. I'll put it that way. I will admit, Drag Strip probably cooler thanks to the vehicle mode, but I do really like Wild Rider as well. Laserbeak, I think I have to just put right along with Buzzsaw, right? Right? And I will go ahead and I'll put him a little bit higher because the red makes him a little bit more distinct than the gold. Uh, I'm judging like just again like I guess I'm leaning toward red and black again, aren't I? Long haul. A little bit different since he's actually like taking a more traditional transformer stance of like the front of my car is my chest or dump truck in this case. You know, most people's dump truck is in the back these days. This is in the front. He's okay, but his arms do get really limited thanks to how he functions. So let's put him a little bit lower than the other Constructicons. I still think Scrapper is more boring though. Ravage. Ravage is also really neat. I wish some of his transformation went outward, but that's, you know, limited engineering of 1984. So I'm not really complaining about that. I'm not going to put him as high as Ratbat, but I do really like how Ravage functions. So for what he is, I think I can put him high-end retail. I think that's fair, right? Tantrum kind of follows the same logic lines as Headstrong. Not quite as bad, but still a big brick. Articulation's not bad, though. The way the arms function, he gets a little bit more motion going. So let's put him a little bit higher. Let's put him a little bit above Dive Bomb, just for an improved up function. How about that? All right, Skywarp, probably the best color scheme the Seekers have. This is like black, purple, and silver is just classic Decepticon. This is the originator of that color scheme. Hard to really argue it. So if I put Starscream at the top of premium price, I think I have to put Skywarp just above him. All right, so you can see like how much I favor Thrust by where I put those two. You know, let's be fair. We'll pummel that. No, well, no. I would kind of equate those two toys. Let's be fair here. Actually, as long as we're mixing things up, let's actually like admit that. Let's actually admit that Razor Claw's really good. Okay, Cyclonus. Challenging toy, I can imagine, for back then. So again, we're not going by like lack of accuracy. We're going by quality of toy. I think he's as good as they could have done accuracy wise, but for the toy, just in general, it's okay. I like how it keeps this super sleek vehicle mode nature. No under kibble of any kind. It's like the vehicle mode looks beautiful. The robot mode definitely needed work, especially the face. I feel like the face is just so tiny. He's got this massive Pope hat and a tiny little face inside. He's a good toy though. He's a good toy. I think he's interesting as a toy. I think he's like premium price interesting as a toy. Really like that one. Sorry your partner's in the bargain bin, but he folds up to he just like wraps himself in a blanket to transform. That doesn't fly here. All right, Dead End. We're kind of like going into like more repetition here with the Stunticon, so he drops in right there. Ramjet, I have a personal attachment to Ramjet, but physically, I do feel like the other Seekers do it better. I will put him around with Dirge, but I'll put him one step higher. Megatron. They're talking about the original Walther P-38, the original gun Megatron. Yeah, play factors alone. So you've got all the different parts you can swap on, customize your gun mode as much as you want. The robot mode is, you know, interesting, but at the very least, the transformation is engaging. Let's give it that. You know, I'll put Shockwave Holy Grail because because he's like a very smooth transformation to his gun. But you can also appreciate the fact that Megatron's is fairly involved and very different. And yeah, it's a realistic gun, which is very illegal now to produce. But I like the functionality of all the spare parts, and including forming a weapon platform. That was clever back then to give it something to do when it's in robot mode. So, you know, and appropriate for an after-school cartoon villain to have a giant laser weapon. So he definitely goes up there. I do think Soundwave's a cooler toy, but I do like what Megatron can do. We're up to Hook, who is, again, pretty simple for the Constructicons. We're going to drop him right along with the rest of his batch. Here we go. Rampage. I really like Rampage. I do. I would say I was gonna put him on par with Razor Claw, but if we're gonna be dead honest here, he's got the same level of articulation. He's got the same qualifications for his beast mode. You know what he doesn't have? He doesn't have the extra bulk that Razor Claw requires to make Predaking. So he's a little less encumbered while still having the same functionality and cool look. So you know what? We'll put him top of premium. Ha ha ha. There you go. Best combiner. All right. What we got left? We got Breakdown, who's again just pretty much doing what all the Stunticons do at this point. I'm gonna put him down here because Breakdown's always cursed to be the worst figure of his brood. Tripticon. Hoo boy. Oh man. So you got the weapon platform, the T-Rex mode. Admittedly, without real posability, the T-Rex mode does kind of get lost. It turns into, but it walks. Like it basically turns into it's a walking, stomping mech. That's cool. That's really cool for a toy that size. That can also transform. Let's not diminish that. It has a full base mode and a artillery mode. Like, it's super cool. It does a ton of stuff. So, I'm trying to consider now because well, you gotta consider everything you do, right? Too. So like it's got oh, I can never remember all of the I can never remember all the names. The name Fast Track popped into my head. I'm like, is it or is that Scorpionox? Oh, I can never remember those two. Doesn't matter. It comes with an extra figure. Holy Grail, top of Holy Grail. Triptychon's awesome. And we finish it off with Thundercracker, who is, about where the other Seekers of his brood go. It's a good toy. Just depends on where you like the color scheme. I think he suffers a little bit because the others got to be a little bit more unique or got to have generally cooler color schemes. But I think it's fair to keep him with the rest of his Seekers. All right, man, you can really tell how much more I like the Beetles. Let's be honest. Let's be honest here. Let's be honest here. So. Well, we'll go ahead and group up them. We'll go ahead and group the Seekers up a little bit more. Remember, for what they are, I find them to be better toys. All right, so let's see. I'm not sure I would move. I'm trying to think of where the bar is. Like, what's the difference that makes Shockwave a Holy Grail and Rampage premium price, given what they are? For what they are, I do think Rampage and Razor Claw are both good. Just for the sake of getting rid of, for the sake of getting an OCD vibe out of my head, let's move that up there. So you can see, this is kind of how I expected to go. A lot ending up in the middle of the bracket, and I can kind of separate them out there, but for the most part, I do acknowledge that, a lot of G1 toys were very simple, did essentially the same thing, and not a whole lot separating them when you really boil down how they function. It just becomes a matter of personal preference and then what else they can do. Now, this, in a vacuum, I'm judging the toys by their individual natures. You'll notice with the combiners, I didn't account for their ability to combine because that is not a function of one toy. It is a function of all of the toys. So I think this is about as fair as I can get. It's probably not what you would agree with, but you know what? It's what I'm going with today. So that is my Decepticon ranking list, or tier list. Let's be correct now. For the 84 through 86 Decepticons. Now, the cool thing here is that there is also a matching Autobot list. It's a longer list, and I'm going to try and be much faster about my explanations for that one, so it doesn't rank in, so it ranks in similar amount of time as this. But I think I'm going to go ahead and record it very soon, rather than just wait for a rainy day. I think I'm going to go ahead and record it, and I will post it to my Patreon for my $5 and up patrons. And I'm going to start this little pool of videos that will be available there exclusively for a limited time. And I'll just drop them in public uh, posts every now and then. Just so if you're gonna be on my Patreon, I'm just gonna have this like little like set of like a week's worth of videos just sitting aside just in case I need to like drop something in, and then I'll go ahead and replace it with something else the next day. So this I hope will be the start of that. So it's not gonna be up right away, but soon on my Patreon, I'm gonna do the Autobot version of this list, and then at some point I'll make that public for everybody. But for now, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Hope I got even close to how you would rank this, because I'm pretty sure there's going to be some disputes over where I put what. So let me know in the comments below what I got wrong, and I will see you next time. Guys, I am facing the most powerful enemy any YouTuber can face, the algorithm, and I need your help to defeat him. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. Every time you do, we attack that algorithm and we drive it back until it can no longer defeat this channel. Thank you very much.